Tanya Brooks stared at the security guard's hand gripping her arm, her heart beating so loud she could barely hear her own thoughts. The small sandwich in her other hand felt like evidence in a crime scene. Behind her, employees whispered and pointed as she was walked through the marble lobby of Morrison Tech Company like a criminal. Her blue cleaning uniform was still damp from mopping the executive floor. Her hands were raw from scrubbing toilets for 8 hours straight. "Please," she whispered to the guard. "I can explain." But Gabriel Morrison, the millionaire owner of the company, stood 20 feet away with his arms crossed. His face was stone. His expensive gray suit probably cost more than Tanya made in 6 months. He'd caught her sitting on the floor of the supply closet, eating a turkey sandwich during her shift. The company had a strict policy: no eating in work areas. She knew that. But she'd been so hungry and she'd already skipped breakfast to save money for her mother's medical bills. "You're fired," he'd said, his voice cold as ice. "Collect your final check from HR." That was 30 minutes ago. Now she stood in the parking lot, the afternoon sun beating down on her, holding a white envelope with her last paycheck inside. $300 for a week of backbreaking work. It wasn't enough. It was never enough. Her mother needed surgery that cost $50,000. Insurance had denied the claim. Tanya had been working 3 jobs, sleeping 4 hours a night, and she was still $47,000 short. She checked her bank account that morning and nearly fainted. $30,000 sat in her checking account. At first, her heart had soared. Maybe the insurance company changed their mind. Maybe it was a miracle. Then she saw the deposit description: Morrison Tech Company payroll. Someone had made a terrible mistake. They'd paid her $30,000 instead of her usual $800 paycheck. Tanya had planned to go to HR immediately to report the error. She was honest. She'd never stolen anything in her life. But then her mother called, crying, saying the hospital wanted payment up front or they'd cancel her surgery scheduled for next week. The cancer was spreading. Without the surgery, her mother had maybe 3 months to live. For 5 hours, Tanya wrestled with the choice. Keep the money and save her mother. Return it and watch her mother die. She'd prayed harder than she'd ever prayed in her life, asking God for guidance. She'd decided to return it. She would find another way. She had to. But before she could go to HR, Gabriel Morrison himself had walked past the supply closet. He'd seen her eating. His face had twisted with disgust, like she was less than human. He didn't ask why she was eating. He didn't ask if she was okay. He just fired her on the spot. Now, standing in the parking lot with tears streaming down her face, Tanya pulled out her phone. Her hands shook so badly she could barely dial. The phone rang 3 times before her mother answered. "Baby girl, how are you?" Patricia Brooks' voice was weak but trying to sound cheerful. Tanya's throat closed up. She couldn't speak. She couldn't tell her mother she'd just lost one of her 3 jobs. She couldn't say that the surgery money was still impossibly far away. "Tanya? You there, honey?" "Mama," Tanya choked out, tears falling faster now. "Mama, I don't know what to do anymore. What would you do if you lost everything trying to save the person you love most? Would you give up or keep fighting?" Drop a comment below and subscribe to see how Tanya's story unfolds. You won't believe what happens next. 3 days earlier, everything had been normal. Well, as normal as Tanya's life ever got. She'd woken up at 4 in the morning in her small apartment. The place was tiny, just 1 bedroom that she'd given to her mother. Tanya slept on the couch. But it was clean and paid for, which was more than a lot of people had. She'd made her mother breakfast: oatmeal with blueberries and a cup of chamomile tea. Patricia was still asleep, her thin body barely making a bump under the blankets. The cancer had stolen so much weight from her. She used to be round and soft, always ready with a hug and a laugh. Now she looked fragile, like she might break. Tanya left a note on the nightstand: "Mama, eat breakfast. Take your pills. I love you more than anything. Be home by 2 p.m. Her first job started at 5. She cleaned office buildings downtown. Morrison Tech Company was her main client. She'd been working there for 2 years, scrubbing toilets and mopping floors while wealthy people worked in their glass offices above. She didn't mind the work. Honest work was nothing to be ashamed of. Her mother had taught her that. The morning had gone by in a blur of mop buckets and cleaning supplies. By noon, Tanya was finishing the executive floor. That's when she saw it. An email notification on her phone from her bank. She almost ignored it. She already knew how little money was in there. But something made her look. Direct deposit, $30,000. Tanya's vision blurred. She blinked hard, thinking she was seeing things wrong. Maybe it said $300 and she'd misread it. But no. $30,000. Her fingers trembled as she opened her banking app. There it was, clear as day. Morrison Tech Company had deposited $30,000 into her account. Her first thought wasn't happiness. It was terror. This was a mistake. A huge, terrible mistake. And when they found out, they'd think she stole it. They'd call the police. She'd go to jail. Who would take care of her mother then? She had to fix this right away. She'd go to HR during her lunch break and explain. They'd take the money back and everything would be fine. Tanya took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. It would be okay. Mistakes happened. She just needed to be honest. But then her phone rang. The hospital. Miss Brooks, this is Karen from City General Hospital. I'm calling about your mother's surgery. Yes, Tanya said, her voice shaking. It's scheduled for next Friday. I'm afraid we need to discuss payment. Your mother's insurance claim was denied again on appeal. The surgery costs $48,000. We require payment in full before we can proceed. The floor seemed to tilt under Tanya's feet. But the doctor said it was life-saving. She'll die without it. I understand, Miss Brooks. I'm very sorry. But hospital policy requires payment up front for elective surgeries. Elective? My mother has cancer. She's dying. Without insurance coverage, it's classified as elective. I'm sorry. If you can provide payment by Monday, we can keep the surgery date. Otherwise, we'll have to cancel and put your mother on a waiting list for charity cases. That waiting list is currently 6 months long. 6 months? Her mother didn't have 6 months. The doctor had been clear. The tumor was growing fast. If they didn't remove it soon, it would spread to other organs. After that, there would be nothing anyone could do. I need to call you back, Tanya whispered. She ended the call and stood there in the empty hallway, mop in hand, her whole body shaking. $30,000 sat in her bank account right now. Money that didn't belong to her. Money that could save her mother's life. No, she couldn't think like that. Stealing was wrong. Her mother would be heartbroken if Tanya became a thief, even to save her life. Patricia had raised Tanya to be honest and good, to trust in God's plan even when things seemed impossible. But what was God's plan here? To let her mother die when the money to save her was sitting right there? Tanya finished her shift in a daze. She couldn't think straight. By the time she got to her cleaning station in the supply closet near the executive offices, her head was pounding and her stomach was growling. She'd been so upset that she'd forgotten to eat lunch. She pulled out the turkey sandwich she'd packed that morning. It was just cheap white bread and deli meat, nothing fancy. She knew she wasn't supposed to eat in the work areas, but the break room was 3 floors down, and she only had 10 minutes before she needed to start on the bathrooms. She'd eat quick then get back to work. No one would know. She was halfway through the sandwich when she heard footsteps. Expensive leather shoes on marble floor. She looked up, still chewing, and found herself staring at Gabriel Morrison. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with dark hair starting to gray at the temples. He wore a gray suit that probably cost thousands of dollars. His face was handsome but cold, his blue eyes like chips of ice as they looked down at her sitting on the floor with her sandwich. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice sharp. Tanya scrambled to her feet, nearly dropping her sandwich. "Sir, I'm sorry. I was just eating quick. I'll go to the break room." "You're eating in a work area. That's against company policy." "I know, sir. I'm sorry. It won't happen again." His eyes narrowed. "You're the janitor. Tanya Brooks." Her heart started pounding. How did he know her name? He owned the whole company. He had hundreds of employees. Why would he know the name of a janitor? "Yes, sir. I got an alert from accounting this morning. About a payroll error." The world stopped spinning. Tanya's mouth went dry. She couldn't breathe. $30,000 was deposited into your account by mistake. I'm guessing you noticed. "Yes, sir," she whispered. "I was going to report it to HR today. Right after my shift. I swear I would never steal from you. I'm an honest person." "Are you?" "Because you've had that money for hours now and you didn't report it. You're sitting here eating on company time in violation of policy. And accounting found something else interesting. You've been accessing your bank account on company computers during work hours." I just checked it once to make sure the deposit was real. I was going to report it. I promise." "I don't believe you." His voice was flat, emotionless. "I think you saw that money and decided to keep it. I think you're a thief." No, sir, please. I would never. I was going to tell HR today. You can take the money back right now. I haven't spent any of it. That money has been in your account for 8 hours. You expect me to believe you weren't planning to keep it?" Tears started falling down Tanya's cheeks. Sir, please. I need this job. I have 3 jobs and I'm barely making it. My mother is sick. She needs surgery. But I wasn't going to steal from you. I swear on my mother's life. Something flickered in his eyes, but it was gone in a second. You're fired. Go to HR, collect your final check, and if that $30,000 isn't back in company accounts by tomorrow morning, I'm calling the police. Please, Tanya begged. Please don't do this. I'll work for free until I pay back the money. I'll do anything. Just don't fire me. But Gabriel Morrison had already turned away. He pulled out his phone and called security. I need someone to escort an employee out of the building. Supply closet, executive floor. That was how Tanya ended up being walked out of Morrison Tech Company like a criminal, her blue uniform damp with cleaning solution, her sandwich thrown in the trash, her last paycheck clutched in her shaking hand. $300. She had $300 and her mother needed $50,000 for surgery by Monday. Standing in the parking lot now, with her mother's worried voice in her ear, Tanya felt something break inside her. She tried so hard to be good, to be honest, to do everything right. And where had it gotten her? Fired. Humiliated. Hopeless. Mama, she said again, her voice cracking. I lost my job at Morrison Tech. But it's okay. I still have the diner and the weekend cleaning gig. We'll be okay. Oh baby, no. What happened? It doesn't matter. Listen, Mama, about the surgery. Don't you worry about that. God will provide. He always does. Tanya wanted to scream. God wasn't providing. God had put $30,000 in her hand and then a millionaire had taken it away and destroyed her life for eating a sandwich. Where was God in that? But she didn't say that. She just said, I love you, Mama. I'll be home soon. She ended the call and stared up at the Morrison Tech building. Somewhere up there, Gabriel Morrison was probably already forgetting about her. She was nothing to him. Just another poor person he could step on and throw away. Tanya had never hated anyone in her life. Her mother taught her that hate poisoned the soul. But standing there, broke fired and desperate, she felt something close to hate burning in her chest. She didn't know that 15 floors up, Gabriel Morrison stood at his office window watching her. He didn't know why he was watching. He should get back to work. He had meetings, deals to close, money to make. But something about the way she'd begged, the desperation in her eyes when she mentioned her sick mother, had hit him somewhere deep. Somewhere he'd thought was dead years ago. He watched Tanya pull out her phone. He couldn't hear what she was saying, but he could see her body shaking. He saw her wipe tears from her face. He saw her look up at his building with an expression of pure despair. Then she walked to her car, an old beat-up sedan that had seen better days, and drove away. Gabriel turned from the window, but he couldn't shake the image of her face. He told himself she was probably lying. People lied all the time, especially about money. She'd seen $30,000 and decided to keep it. The sick mother story was probably fake, designed to make him feel guilty. Except it hadn't felt fake. It had felt painfully real. He shook his head and sat at his desk. He had a company to run. He couldn't let himself get soft over every sob story. That was how you lost everything. He'd learned that lesson the hard way years ago. But for the rest of the day he kept thinking about Tanya Brooks and her trembling hands and the way she'd said, I swear on my mother's life. He told himself he didn't care. He told himself she was just another employee who'd broken the rules. He told himself a lot of things. None of them felt true. Tanya made it exactly 3 blocks before she had to pull over. The tears were coming too fast, blurring her vision until she couldn't see the road. She parked in a gas station lot and let herself break down completely. Her whole body shook with sobs. Everything she'd been holding inside for months came pouring out. The fear. The exhaustion. The desperate, crushing weight of trying to save her mother's life on minimum wage and tips. She'd been so strong for so long, working herself to the bone, never complaining. But this was too much. She couldn't take any more. Her phone buzzed. A text from her best friend Rochelle. Girl, you okay? You said you'd call after your shift. Tanya stared at the message but couldn't respond. How could she explain what just happened? That she'd been fired for eating a sandwich while a millionaire looked at her like she was trash? That $30,000 had been in her hands for a few hours before being ripped away? That her mother was dying and there was nothing Tanya could do to stop it? Another text. Tanya? Answer me. I'm getting worried. With shaking fingers Tanya typed, lost the Morrison job. Can't talk now. Her phone immediately rang. Rochelle. What happened? Rochelle demanded as soon as Tanya answered. That was your best job. That was where you got most of your hours. I got fired. For what? You're the best worker they have. I know you work harder than anybody. Tanya's throat closed up again. It doesn't matter. Listen, I gotta go. I have to get to the diner for my evening shift. Tanya Brooks, don't you hang up on me. Talk to me. I can't. I'll fall apart again and I don't have time. I need to work. There was a pause. Then Rochelle's voice came back softer. Okay. But I'm coming by the diner later. We're going to talk. After Rochelle hung up, Tanya sat in her car for another 10 minutes, forcing herself to calm down. She couldn't show up at the diner looking like this. Her eyes were probably red and swollen. Her uniform was wrinkled. She looked like exactly what she was, someone barely holding it together. She used the gas station bathroom to wash her face and fix her hair. She changed out of her blue cleaning uniform into the black pants and white shirt she wore for waitressing. She looked at herself in the cracked mirror. Her brown eyes stared back at her, exhausted and scared. You can do this, she whispered to her reflection. For Mama. You can do anything for Mama. She drove to the diner and made it through her shift on pure willpower. She smiled at customers. She took orders and delivered food and pretended everything was fine. Inside she was screaming. Every time she had a quiet moment, the panic came rushing back. Monday. The hospital needed payment by Monday. Today was Wednesday. She had 5 days to find $50,000. It was impossible. Completely impossible. The word kept echoing in her head. Impossible. 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 Around 8 o'clock Rochelle walked in. She was wearing her bright red nurse scrubs from her shift at the children's hospital. Rochelle was a year younger than Tanya's 27 years, but she'd always been the bold one, the one who spoke her mind and didn't take garbage from anyone. She slid into a booth and waited. When Tanya's manager wasn't looking, Tanya brought over 2 cups of coffee and sat down across from her friend. 10 minutes, Tanya said. That's all I can take. Then talk fast. What really happened? Tanya told her everything. The money. The hospital. The sandwich. Gabriel Morrison's cold eyes. Being escorted out like a criminal. By the end, Rochelle's face was dark with anger. That man is trash, Rochelle said flatly. Rich trash in an expensive suit, but trash all the same. You were going to report the money. You're the most honest person I know. He didn't believe me. Because he's never been poor. He doesn't understand what it's like to have to choose between eating lunch and following some stupid rule. He probably spends more on coffee every day than you make in a week. Tanya wiped her eyes again. It doesn't matter now. It's done. I just need to figure out what to do about Mama's surgery. There has to be something. Charity care? Payment plans? I called the hospital. They won't do surgery without payment up front. Not for something they classify as elective. Cancer surgery isn't elective. It is if you don't have insurance coverage. The insurance company says it's experimental. The hospital says no money, no surgery. Rochelle reached across the table and grabbed Tanya's hand. We'll figure something out. Maybe we can do a fundraiser. Or a GoFundMe page. In 5 days? We'd never raise $50,000 in 5 days. Then we'll talk to the hospital again. Beck threatened to go to the media. Something. Tanya wanted to believe her. But hope felt dangerous right now. Every time she let herself hope, it got crushed. Better to expect nothing. At least then she couldn't be disappointed. Her manager called from the kitchen. Tanya, order up. I have to get back to work, Tanya said, standing up. I'll stay until your shift ends. Then we're going back to your place and making a plan. Don't argue. Tanya nodded, too tired to argue anyway. She didn't know that across town, Gabriel Morrison couldn't concentrate on anything. He tried to work. He'd had 3 meetings and a conference call. He'd reviewed contracts and signed papers. But his mind kept wandering back to Tanya Brooks. He'd asked his assistant to pull her employee file. It was thin. She'd been with the company for 2 years. Never late. Never missed a day. Her supervisor had written, excellent worker. Goes above and beyond. Very reliable. That didn't sound like someone who would steal. He'd also asked accounting to confirm the payroll error. It was legitimate. A new accounting clerk had accidentally added an extra 0 to several paychecks. Tanya wasn't the only one affected. 3 other employees had received overpayments too. All 3 had reported the error immediately. Only Tanya hadn't reported it right away. But she'd said she was going to. She'd said she was planning to tell HR after her shift. Was that true? Gabriel pulled up the security footage from that morning. He watched Tanya arrive at 5 a.m. She went to the supply closet, got her equipment and started cleaning. At 7 she checked her phone and her whole body went rigid. She stared at the screen for a long moment, her hand covering her mouth. That must have been when she saw the deposit. She sat down hard on the floor looking like she might faint. Then she pulled herself together and kept working. Around noon she checked her phone again. This time after she looked at it she started crying. Not little tears. Big gasping sobs. She turned away from the cameras but her shoulders shook. Whatever was on that phone had broken her. Gabriel watched her pull herself together again. She wiped her face. She took deep breaths. She went back to work. Around 2 she sat down in the supply closet and pulled out her sandwich. And that was when he'd walked by and seen her. He paused the footage and stared at her face. She looked exhausted. Defeated. Nothing like a thief who just scored $30,000. She looked like someone barely holding on. Gabriel sat back in his chair. He'd made his fortune by being tough. By not letting emotion cloud his judgment. By protecting his money and his company at all costs. That mindset had taken him from poverty to wealth, from nothing to everything. But lately he'd started to wonder if he'd lost something along the way. His business partner James kept telling him he was too cold, too harsh. His few friends said he worked too much and lived too little. Even his own reflection seemed to belong to a stranger these days. When had he become the kind of man who fired a desperate woman for eating a sandwich? He picked up his phone and called his head of security. "I need an address for a former employee. Tanya Brooks." 20 minutes later he had her address. And her phone number. And information he hadn't asked for but the security team had provided anyway. She worked 3 jobs, lived in a small apartment in a rough neighborhood, had no criminal record, and her mother Patricia Brooks was a patient at City General Hospital with a cancer diagnosis. So the sick mother wasn't a lie. Gabriel sat at his desk as the sun set outside his window. He should go home. But home was just a big empty house that echoed with his footsteps. He'd bought it 5 years ago, thinking he'd fill it with a family someday. But someday never came. He was married to his work and that was a jealous spouse. He thought about his own mother. Ruth Morrison had died when he was 19. Breast cancer. They'd caught it late when it had already spread. The treatment was expensive and they had no insurance. Gabriel had been working 2 jobs, going to community college, trying to scrape together money. But it wasn't enough. It was never enough. His mother had died in a charity ward, holding his hand, telling him she was proud of him. She'd been only 46. Gabriel had sworn that day that he'd never be helpless again. He'd never watch someone he loved die because he didn't have enough money. He'd built his company from nothing, driven by that promise to his mother's memory. And now, 20 years later, he'd just fired a woman who was in the exact same situation he'd been in. Desperate. Working multiple jobs. Watching her mother die because she didn't have enough money. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. He'd become the villain of his own story. He was the cold, heartless rich man who didn't care about the little people. He was everything he'd hated when he was poor. Gabriel looked at Tanya's address on his computer screen. He could fix this. He had more money than he could ever spend. $50,000 was nothing to him. Less than nothing. It was what he spent on his car payment each month. But if he helped her, was it charity? Pity? Would she even accept it after how he'd treated her? He remembered her words, "I wasn't going to steal from you. I swear on my mother's life." Nobody said that unless they meant it. Nobody put their dying mother's name into a lie. Gabriel made a decision. He grabbed his coat and headed for the elevator. His assistant called after him, asking about tomorrow's schedule. He waved her off. For the first time in years, work could wait. He drove across town to the address on file. The neighborhood was rough. Broken streetlights. Graffiti on walls. People hanging out on corners who watched his expensive car with calculating eyes. This was the kind of place he'd grown up in. The kind of place he'd spent 20 years trying to forget. But the address wasn't an apartment building. It was a diner. Pete's Diner. A rundown place with flickering neon signs and cracked vinyl booths visible through the window. Through the glass he saw her. Tanya. She was wearing a white shirt and black pants, carrying a tray of food to a table. She was smiling at the customers but the smile didn't reach her eyes. She looked tired. So tired. Gabriel sat in his car across the street, watching. He didn't know what to say to her. "Sorry I fired you" seemed inadequate. "I want to help" sounded like pity. "I was wrong about you" was true but not enough. He was still trying to figure it out when he saw Tanya walk toward the back of the diner. She pushed through a door marked "Staff Only." After a moment he saw her through a side window. She was in a storage room surrounded by boxes of supplies. And she was on her phone, crying. Gabriel rolled down his window. In the quiet night air he could hear her voice. "Mama, I don't know what else to do. I've tried everything. The hospital won't budge. They need the money by Monday or they're canceling your surgery." Pause. Then her mother's voice, faint but clear through the phone. "Baby girl, maybe it's just not meant to be. Maybe God wants me to come home." "No." Tanya's voice was fierce. "No, Mama, don't talk like that. You're not giving up. I won't let you. Sweetheart, you've done everything you can. You've worked yourself half to death for me. I'm so proud of you. But you can't save me if there's no way to get the money. There has to be a way. There has to be. Tanya, listen to me. If I die, I need you to promise me something. Promise me you'll live. Really live. Not just work and struggle and survive. Find joy. Find love. Find happiness. That's all I've ever wanted for you. Stop talking like you're dying. You're not dying. I'm going to save you. Oh baby, you already have. You saved me every day for 27 years. You've been the best daughter a mother could ask for. Strong and kind and good. If I die tomorrow, I die happy because I got to be your mama." Tanya's voice broke completely. "I love you so much. I can't lose you. You're all I have. And you'll always have me. Even when I'm gone, I'll be right here in your heart. You know that." Gabriel sat frozen in his car, listening to this woman pour her heart out to her dying mother. He'd thought she might be a thief. He treated her like she was worthless. And all along she was working 3 jobs, sacrificing everything, trying desperately to save the person she loved most in the world. Just like he'd tried to do once, a lifetime ago. The difference was he had the power to help her now. He had the money she needed. He could save her mother with the same ease that most people bought coffee. And he'd fired her instead. Shame washed over him hot and thick. He'd been so concerned with protecting his money, so sure she was trying to cheat him, that he'd never stopped to see her as a real person. A person with a dying mother and no options left. He'd become exactly what he'd always hated. He'd become the villain. Gabriel got out of his car and walked toward the diner. He had no idea what he was going to say. But he had to try. He had to make this right. Through the window he saw Tanya end the call with her mother. She stood there in the storage room, crying silently, her whole body shaking. Then she wiped her face, took a deep breath and walked back out into the diner. Back to work. Back to smiling at customers and pretending everything was fine. The strength that took, the courage to keep going when everything was falling apart, hit Gabriel hard. This woman was stronger than he'd ever been. He pulled open the diner door and walked inside. The diner smelled like grease and burnt coffee. Country music played from a jukebox in the corner. Gabriel stood just inside the door, suddenly aware of how out of place he looked in his expensive suit and designer shoes. Several customers turned to stare at him. An older man at the counter muttered something under his breath. Gabriel caught the word suit said like a curse. Then he saw Tanya. She was refilling coffee for a table near the window, her back to him. She hadn't seen him yet. Part of him wanted to leave. This was a terrible idea. She probably hated him. She had every right to. But his mother's face flashed in his mind. Ruth Morrison in that hospital bed, telling him everything would be okay when they both knew she was dying. If someone could have saved her, if some rich stranger had walked in and offered help, Gabriel would have fallen to his knees in gratitude. He couldn't save his mother. But he could save Tanya's. He walked deeper into the diner. A waitress approached him, an older woman with gray hair and a name tag that said Betty. "Seat yourself, honey," she said, giving him a curious look. "Menus on the table." "Actually, I'm looking for someone. Tanya Brooks. I need to speak with her." Betty's friendly expression vanished. "Who's asking?" "My name is Gabriel Morrison. I own Morrison Tech Company." Betty's eyes narrowed. "You're the one who fired her today." Word traveled fast. Gabriel nodded. "Yes. I need to talk to her. It's important." "I bet it is. But that girl is on her shift and she needs this job. So unless you're here to arrest her or something, you can wait until she's off at 11. "I'm not here to arrest anyone. I'm here to apologize." That surprised Betty. Her expression softened slightly. "Apologize? For what?" "Being a rich jerk who fires people for eating a sandwich." Gabriel winced. "Yes. For exactly that." Betty studied him for a long moment. "Wait here." She walked over to Tanya, who was now at the register. Gabriel watched Betty lean in and whisper something. Tanya's whole body went rigid. She turned slowly, and her eyes met Gabriel's across the diner. The look on her face cut through him. Fear, anger, confusion, and underneath it all, bone-deep exhaustion. She said something to Betty, then walked toward him. She stopped a few feet away like she was afraid to get too close. Mr. Morrison. Her voice was flat. What do you want? I need to talk to you. Can you take a break? I just took one. Please. It's important. Tanya glanced back at Betty, who nodded. Fine. 5 minutes. Outside. She walked past him and he followed her out into the parking lot. The night air was cool. Somewhere down the street a dog barked. Tanya crossed her arms and faced him, waiting. Gabriel had given hundreds of presentations. He'd pitched to investors, negotiated million-dollar deals, spoken at conferences. But right now, looking at this tired young woman in her waitress uniform, he couldn't find the right words. I'm sorry, he finally said. I was wrong. About everything. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Okay, you're sorry. Is that all? No. He took a breath. I heard you. In the storage room. I heard you talking to your mother. Tanya's eyes went wide. You were spying on me? Not spying. I came here to find you and I heard you through the window. I heard everything. He paused. Your mother has cancer. Yes. Her voice was cold now. Just like I told you this afternoon. But you didn't believe me. I believe you now. And I want to help. Help? How? I'll pay for your mother's surgery. All of it. And I'll give you your job back. Actually, I'll give you a better job. I need a new executive assistant. The position pays $60,000 a year, full benefits, health insurance that will cover your mother's treatments. Tanya stared at him like he'd started speaking another language. What? I'm offering you a job and full payment for your mother's surgery. No strings attached. You don't have to pay me back. Consider it an apology for how I treated you today. She took a step back. This is a joke. You're joking. I'm not joking. I'm completely serious. Why would you do that? You fired me. You called me a thief. You had me escorted out of the building like a criminal. Now you show up here offering me money? This doesn't make sense. Gabriel ran a hand through his hair. I know it doesn't, but I was wrong about you. I looked into your employee record. You're a good worker. Reliable. Honest. And he paused. I heard what you said to your mother. About trying everything. About not giving up. I heard your mother telling you to let her go, and I heard you refuse. That kind of love, that kind of determination, that's rare. So what? You feel sorry for me now? Is this pity? No. It's not pity. He met her eyes. 20 years ago, I was exactly where you are now. My mother had cancer. We had no money for treatment. I was working 2 jobs, barely making enough to feed us. I watched her die because I couldn't save her. I've spent every day since then building my company, making money, but I never forgot what it felt like to be helpless. Tanya's expression softened slightly. I'm sorry about your mother. Thank you. But the point is, I understand what you're going through. I know what it's like to love someone so much you'd do anything to save them. And I have the power to help you. So I'm going to. If you'll let me. She was quiet for a long moment. You're serious? You're really serious? Completely serious? I've already called my lawyer. He's drafting papers for a medical payment plan. And my HR director is preparing your employment contract. If you say yes, your mother can have her surgery this week, and you can start work on Monday. Tears started forming in Tanya's eyes. Why? Why are you doing this? Because someone should have done it for my mother and nobody did. Because you deserve help. Because I was cruel to you today and I want to make it right. Pick whichever reason makes you feel better. They're all true. I don't understand. Rich people don't just give away money to people like me. People like you? You mean honest, hard-working people who love their families? Maybe they should. Tanya wiped at her eyes. What's the catch? There has to be a catch. No catch. You work for me, do a good job, and your mother gets the best care available. That's the deal. I don't know anything about being an executive assistant. I clean offices. I wait tables. I don't know business stuff. You'll learn. You're smart. I can tell. And I'll teach you everything you need to know. She looked at him searchingly like she was trying to find the lie, the trick, the thing that would make this make sense. But Gabriel held her gaze steadily. He meant every word. Finally she whispered, what if I fail? What if I can't do the job? Then I'll find a different position for you. Something that fits your skills. But you won't fail. I have a good feeling about you. More tears fell down her face. I thought you were the worst person I'd ever met. This afternoon I hated you. I was the worst person you'd ever met. This afternoon, you had every right to hate me. A small, shaky laugh escaped her. So what changed? I heard a daughter who loves her mother. and I remembered being a son who loved his. That's what changed. Tanya covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook. Gabriel stood there awkwardly, not sure if he should comfort her or give her space. After a moment she looked up at him. Okay, she said. Yes, I accept. All of it. The job. The surgery payment. Everything. Relief flooded through Gabriel. Good. That's good. I'll have my assistant contact you tomorrow with all the details. But first, I need your mother's information. Doctor's name, hospital, case number. I want to make sure the payment goes through immediately. Right now? You're going to pay right now. Why wait? The surgery is scheduled for next Friday, right? Let's make sure it happens. Tanya pulled out her phone with shaking hands. She showed him the hospital information, her mother's patient number, all the details he needed. Gabriel took notes, then made a call. Sarah, it's Gabriel. I need you to do something for me tonight. I'm texting you hospital information. I want you to call them first thing in the morning and set up payment for a surgery. Patient name is Patricia Brooks. Cost is approximately $50,000. Make sure they have everything they need to proceed with the surgery as scheduled. He paused, listening. No, this isn't a company expense. This is personal. Take it from my personal account. And Sarah? This is time sensitive. The surgery is next Friday. Make sure there are no delays. He ended the call and looked at Tanya. Done. By morning, the hospital will have confirmation of payment. Your mother's surgery is happening. Tanya started crying harder. I don't know what to say. Thank you doesn't seem like enough. Then just say you'll show up Monday morning ready to work. I will. I promise. I won't let you down. I know you won't. Gabriel pulled a business card from his wallet. This has my personal cell phone number on the back. If you need anything between now and Monday, call me. Day or night. She took the card like it was made of gold. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why did you really come here tonight? The truth. Gabriel thought about that. Because I heard you say you'd swear on your mother's life that you weren't a thief. And I realized that nobody says that unless they mean it. I realized I judged you unfairly. And I'm trying very hard not to be the kind of man who does that anymore. Thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for believing me. Thank you for accepting my help. A lot of people would have told me to go away after how I treated you. My mama always said that when someone offers you help, you take it with gratitude. She said refusing help is just pride, and pride doesn't keep the lights on. Gabriel smiled. Your mother sounds like a wise woman. She is. She's the best person I know. Tanya paused. I can't wait to tell her. She's not going to believe it. Tell her tonight. Let her sleep easy knowing the surgery is paid for. I will. Tanya looked back at the diner. I should get back to work. Of course. I'll see you Monday morning. 8 o'clock. Ask for me at the front desk. I'll be there. I'll be early actually. I'm always early. I believe that. Tanya turned to go, then stopped. She looked back at him. Mr. Morrison? You said you couldn't save your mother. But you saved mine. I think maybe that matters. I think maybe she'd be proud of you. The words hit Gabriel square in the chest. He couldn't speak for a moment. Finally he managed, thank you. She gave him a small smile, the first real smile he'd seen from her, then went back into the diner. Gabriel stood in the parking lot for a while after she left. The shame he'd felt earlier was starting to ease, replaced by something else. Something that felt almost like redemption. He'd made a lot of money in his life. He'd built a company worth hundreds of millions. He'd achieved everything he'd set out to achieve after his mother died. But this, helping Tanya and her mother, this felt more important than any business deal he'd ever closed. He drove home that night feeling lighter than he had in years. For the first time in a long time he'd done something good. Something that mattered. When he got to his big empty house, it didn't feel quite so empty. He poured himself a drink and sat on his balcony, looking out over the city lights. Somewhere out there, Tanya was probably telling her mother the good news. Patricia Brooks would get her surgery. She would live. And Gabriel Morrison, who'd spent 20 years being hard and cold and focused only on business, had finally done something his mother would have been proud of. He raised his glass to the sky. This one's for you, Mom, he whispered. I'm sorry it's 20 years too late. The night breeze felt like an answer. Like forgiveness. Like love. Are you rooting for Tanya and Gabriel? Do you think he's really changed, or is this just the beginning? Comment below and hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, you'll want to see how this story unfolds. Friday morning came too quickly for Tanya. She barely slept Thursday night. After her shift at the diner ended, she'd driven home and woken her mother to tell her the news. Patricia had cried. Then Tanya had cried. Then they'd both cried together, holding each other in the small bedroom, thanking God for miracles. This man, this Gabriel Morrison, Patricia had said. He must have a good heart hidden under all that money. I thought he was horrible, Mama. I really did. Sometimes people surprise us. Sometimes God works through the most unexpected people. Now Friday morning, Tanya stood in front of her closet trying to figure out what to wear. She didn't start her new job until Monday, but Gabriel's assistant Sarah had called and asked her to come to the office today. They needed to do paperwork, get her badge made, set up her computer access. Normal new employee stuff. But Tanya didn't have nice work clothes. She had her cleaning uniforms and her diner outfit. That was it. Everything else was old jeans and t-shirts. Wear your church dress, Patricia called from the bedroom. The green one. The green dress was the only nice thing Tanya owned. She wore it to church on Sundays and job interviews. It was simple, but it was clean and professional. Would have to do. She drove to Morrison Tech Company in her beat-up sedan, parking in the visitor lot because she didn't have an employee parking pass yet. The building looked different in the morning light. Less intimidating. Or maybe Tanya just felt different about it now. Inside, the lobby was busy with employees coming and going. She told the security guard she had an appointment with Sarah Chong. He made a call, then handed her a visitor badge. 15th floor, he said. Elevators are that way. Tanya rode up with several other people in business clothes. They all had confident walks and expensive briefcases. She felt out of place in her simple green dress and worn flats. But she held her head high. She belonged here now. Gabriel Morrison himself had said so. The elevator opened onto a bright, modern floor with glass offices and open workspaces. A woman in a sharp blue suit was waiting for her. She was in her 40s with short black hair and kind eyes. Tanya? I'm Sarah Chong, Gabriel's executive assistant. Well, his current executive assistant. You'll be taking over some of my duties so I can focus on bigger projects. It's nice to meet you, Tanya said, shaking her hand. Come on, I'll show you around. Sarah walked her through the floor, explaining everything. This was the executive level. Gabriel's office was the large corner office at the end. The conference rooms were here. The break room was there. Tanya would have a desk right outside Gabriel's office. You'll be managing his calendar, scheduling meetings, handling his correspondence, making travel arrangements, that kind of thing, Sarah explained. I'll train you on everything. Don't worry, it's not as complicated as it sounds. I'll work really hard, Tanya promised. I won't let Mr. Morrison down. Sarah smiled. He told me you'd say something like that. He also said you've been working 3 jobs. That takes dedication. I needed the money. Well, now you have 1 good job instead of 3 bad ones. That's a win. Sarah led her to a desk. This will be yours. We'll get you set up with a computer today. For now, let's do paperwork. They spent the next 2 hours filling out forms. Tax documents. Insurance enrollment. Direct deposit information. Sarah explained the benefits package. Health insurance that covered basically everything: dental, vision, retirement plan, paid time off. This health insurance, Tanya said carefully. It covers cancer treatment? Yes. Full coverage. And it includes your immediate family, so your mother will be covered too once the paperwork processes. Tanya's eyes filled with tears. Again. She'd cried more in the past 2 days than she had in years. I'm sorry. I keep crying. I'm not usually like this. Don't apologize. This is a big change. Good changes can be overwhelming too. After the paperwork, Sarah took her down to get her badge photo taken. Then they went back upstairs for lunch. Sarah had ordered salads from a fancy place down the street. They ate in a small conference room. Sarah asked about Tanya's background, her skills, what kind of work she'd done before. Tanya was honest. She'd cleaned offices and waited tables. She didn't have college degree. She'd barely finished high school because she'd been working to help her mother pay bills. But I learn fast, Tanya added. And I'm good with people. I can handle difficult customers without getting upset. And I'm organized. You have to be organized when you're working 3 jobs. Those are actually perfect skills for an executive assistant, Sarah said. Gabriel can be demanding. He works long hours. He expects a lot. But he's fair and he rewards hard work. If you do well, you'll move up fast here. What's he like to work for? Really? Sarah considered the question. Intense. Focused. He doesn't do small talk. He's not warm and fuzzy. But he's brilliant, and if he trusts you, he'll invest in your career. I've been with him for 5 years. I started as a secretary. Now I'm chief of staff with equity in the company. That's amazing. It can be that amazing for you too if you want it, but you have to want it. Gabriel doesn't have time for people who are just collecting a paycheck. I want it, Tanya said firmly. I want to prove I can do this. Sarah smiled. Good. Then we're going to get along great. They were finishing lunch when Gabriel walked in. He was wearing a navy suit today with a maroon tie. He looked tired but alert. His eyes found Tanya immediately. How's the onboarding going? He asked Sarah. Great. Tanya's a quick study. I think she'll be ready by Monday. Excellent. He looked at Tanya. Did the hospital call you? Yes, sir. This morning. They confirmed the surgery is scheduled for next Friday at 7 a.m. They said all the fees are paid in full. Good. That's good. He paused. How's your mother taking the news? She's overjoyed. She can't stop crying. Happy tears, I mean. She wanted me to thank you. Actually, she wants to meet you. She wants to thank you in person. Gabriel looked uncomfortable. That's not necessary. I'm just glad I could help. Sir, if you have time, it would mean the world to her. And to me. He hesitated, then nodded. All right. When? Whenever works for you. We're home most evenings. How about tonight? I could stop by after work, say 7? Tanya's face lit up. That would be perfect. Thank you. After Gabriel left, Sarah said, That's unusual. What is? Him agreeing to meet your mother. Gabriel doesn't do personal. He keeps work and life very separate. You must have made quite an impression. That evening, Tanya cleaned the apartment until it sparkled. She knew it was small and shabby compared to where Gabriel probably lived, but she wanted it to look its best. Patricia insisted on making dinner. She made pot roast with potatoes and carrots, her specialty. Mama, you don't have to cook for him. He's coming to visit, not for dinner. That man is paying for my surgery. The least I can do is feed him a home-cooked meal. At 7 sharp, there was a knock on the door. Tanya opened it to find Gabriel standing there in jeans and a maroon sweater. He'd changed out of his suit. He looked younger this way. More approachable. Come in, Tanya said. Gabriel stepped into the small apartment. His eyes took in everything. The worn furniture, the clean but faded curtains, the small kitchen visible from the living room. But his expression didn't show judgment. Just observation. Mr. Morrison, Patricia called from the kitchen doorway. Thank you for coming. She walked over slowly. The cancer and treatments had made her weak. She was thin and pale, but her smile was bright. Gabriel shook her hand gently. It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Brooks. Call me Patricia. Please sit down. I made dinner. I hope you'll join us. I don't want to impose. You're not imposing. You're our guest. And I insist. Gabriel looked at Tanya, who nodded. When Mama insists, you listen. They sat down at the small kitchen table. The food was simple but good. They ate and talked. Patricia asked Gabriel about his company, his life, how he got started in business. He told them about growing up poor, about his mother's death, about building Morrison Tech from nothing. Your mother would be proud of you, Patricia said. Look at everything you've accomplished. Thank you. But lately I've been wondering if I've accomplished the right things. I've made a lot of money, but I'm not sure I've made much of a difference. You're making a difference now. You're saving my life. That's not nothing. It's the least I could do after how I treated your daughter. Patricia glanced at Tanya. She told me about that. About you firing her. I'll be honest, I was ready to dislike you. But then she told me about you coming to the diner. About you hearing her talk to me on the phone. About you deciding to help. That takes courage. A lot of people would have walked away. I almost did walk away. I sat in my car for 20 minutes trying to decide. But you didn't. You chose kindness. That matters. After dinner they had coffee and talked more. Gabriel was different here than he was at work. More relaxed. More human. He laughed at Patricia's stories about raising Tanya. He asked questions. He listened. Around 9 he stood to leave. Thank you for dinner. It was wonderful. Much better than the takeout I usually eat. You're welcome anytime, Patricia said. Our home is always open to you. At the door, Patricia hugged him. Gabriel looked startled at first, then hugged her back. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for giving me more time with my daughter. You're welcome, he said quietly. Tanya walked him out to his car. The night was cool and clear. Stars were visible despite the city lights. Your mother is special, Gabriel said. I can see why you're fighting so hard for her. She's my best friend. My whole world really. I don't know what I'd do without her. You won't have to find out. Not for a long time. He paused. I'm looking forward to working with you on Monday. Me too. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. Don't be nervous. You're going to do great. He drove away and Tanya went back inside. Patricia was already in bed, tired from the evening's activity. But she was smiling. I like him, she said. There's goodness in that man. Loneliness too. He needs someone to care about him. Mama, don't start. Start what? Whatever you're thinking. He's my boss. That's all. Patricia just smiled. If you say so, baby. The surgery happened the following Friday, exactly as planned. Tanya took the day off work. Gabriel told her to take as many days as she needed. But she was back Monday morning, exhausted but hopeful. The surgery had gone well. Patricia was in recovery. The doctors were optimistic. Gabriel checked on her throughout the day. How's your mother? Strong. Stable. The surgeon said he got all the tumor. Now we just wait and see if it comes back. It won't. She's a fighter. I can tell. Over the next few weeks, Patricia's recovery continued. She got stronger every day. The follow-up scans were clear. No signs of cancer. The doctors used words like remission and excellent prognosis. Tanya threw herself into her new job. She learned fast just like she promised. She figured out Gabriel's schedule preferences, learned which calls to put through and which to hold, mastered the computer systems. Sarah was impressed. You're a natural, Sarah told her. Gabriel's already saying you're the best assistant he's ever had. Really? He said that. He did. And Gabriel doesn't give compliments lightly. Tanya worked hard, arriving early and staying late. She wanted to prove she deserved this opportunity. But more than that, she wanted to help. Gabriel had saved her mother's life. She'd spend the rest of her career trying to pay that back. One evening, about 6 weeks after Patricia's surgery, Gabriel was working late. Tanya should have gone home hours ago, but she'd stayed to help him prepare for a big presentation the next day. They were in his office reviewing slides. This is good, Gabriel said. Really good. Thank you for staying late to help with this. It's no problem. I want to help. He looked at her. You don't have to work this hard, you know? You've already proven yourself. I know. But I want to. This job, this opportunity, it changed my life. I don't take that lightly. You changed your own life. I just opened a door. You're the one who walked through it and ran with it. Still, I'm grateful. Every single day I'm grateful. They finished the presentation around 8. As they packed up, Gabriel said, How's your mother doing? Really doing? She's amazing. Strong. Getting stronger every day. She started volunteering at her church last week. She says she has to give back to help other people the way we were helped. She's a remarkable woman. She is. Tanya paused. She asks about you, you know. She wants you to come for dinner again. I'd like that. It's been a long time since I had a real home-cooked meal. Then comes Sunday. We eat at 6. Gabriel smiled. I'll be there. And he was. Sunday at 6, he showed up with flowers for Patricia and a bottle of wine. They had roast chicken and vegetables. They talked and laughed. Patricia treated Gabriel like family, teasing him gently, asking about his life, telling him stories. After that, Sunday dinners became a regular thing. Every week, Gabriel would come over. Sometimes Tanya's friend Rochelle joined them. The small apartment filled with laughter and good food and warmth. Gabriel found himself looking forward to Sundays all week. His big empty house felt even emptier after spending time in Patricia's small warm home. He'd built his whole life around work and money. But sitting at that kitchen table, eating simple food and enjoying simple company, he realized he'd been missing something important. He'd been missing a connection. He'd been missing love. Spring turned to summer. Patricia's health continued to improve. Tanya settled into her role at Morrison Tech. And slowly, almost without noticing, she and Gabriel grew closer. It started small. Gabriel asking her opinion on things beyond just scheduling. Tanya offering suggestions that he actually listened to. Conversations that went beyond work. Shared lunches where they talked about books, movies, life. Gabriel found himself looking forward to seeing her every morning. Her smile brightened his whole day. Her kindness reminded him that there was good in the world. Her intelligence challenged him. Her strength inspired him. Tanya noticed changes in him too. He smiled more. He was patient with employees who made mistakes. He started leaving work at reasonable hours. Other employees noticed the change too. The office atmosphere shifted from tense to pleasant. People stopped dreading interactions with the boss. Whatever you're doing, Sarah told Tanya, keep doing it. Gabriel's like a different person. Rochelle noticed too. During one of their regular coffee dates she said, "So, you and your boss. What's going on there?" "Nothing. We work together. That's all." "Girl, please. I've seen the way you talk about him. The way your face lights up when you mention him. He's a good man. He saved my mama. Of course I care about him. This is more than gratitude. This is feelings." Tanya stirred her coffee, not meeting Rochelle's eyes. "Even if that were true, which I'm not saying it is, nothing could happen. He's my boss. He's a millionaire. I'm his employee. I'm nobody. You're not nobody. And from what you've told me, he doesn't see you that way either. It doesn't matter what he sees. Some things aren't meant to be." But Rochelle just smiled knowingly. The truth was, Tanya had developed feelings for Gabriel. Real, deep feelings that scared her. She tried to ignore them. Tried to remind herself that this was just gratitude. He'd saved her mother. Of course she felt close to him. But it was more than that. She loved the way he listened when she talked, really listened like her words mattered. She loved his dry sense of humor that most people never saw. She loved watching him with her mother, how gentle he was, how patient. She loved the glimpses she got of the man behind the money, the man who worked hard because his mother had inspired him, who carried old wounds but was learning to heal. She loved him. And that was terrifying. Gabriel was fighting the same battle. He'd spent years avoiding emotional connections. After his mother died, he'd thrown himself into work. He'd had relationships, but they'd been surface level. No one got close. No one got in. But Tanya had gotten in somehow. She'd slipped past his defenses with her kindness and her strength and her beautiful spirit. He found himself thinking about her at odd times. Wondering if she'd like a restaurant he passed. Wanting to tell her about interesting things he read. Missing her on weekends. He knew it was inappropriate. She was his employee. There was a power imbalance. He could lose her if he made a move and she rejected him. Worse, she might feel pressured to say yes even if she didn't want to. The last thing he wanted was to make her uncomfortable. So he kept his feelings to himself. He was professional at work. He kept their Sunday dinners casual and friendly. He ignored the way his heart raced when she smiled at him. It couldn't last. Something had to give. The breaking point came in July. Morrison Tech was hosting a charity gala. It was Gabriel's idea, inspired by Patricia's recovery. He decided to donate a portion of company profits to a cancer research foundation. The gala would raise awareness and additional funds. As his assistant, Tanya was helping organize the event. She'd worked with the event planner, coordinated with the caterers, managed the guest list. She'd done an amazing job. The night of the gala, Gabriel arrived at the venue early. The ballroom was beautiful, decorated in blue and silver. Everything was perfect. Then Tanya arrived and Gabriel forgot how to breathe. She was wearing a dress. Not her usual professional work clothes. An actual dress. It was red, simple but elegant. She'd done something different with her hair. She looked beautiful. She'd always been beautiful, but tonight it was almost overwhelming. "Mr. Morrison," she said, walking over. "Everything's set up. The guests start arriving in 30 minutes. He couldn't find words. He just stared at her. "Is something wrong?" she asked, looking worried. "Is my dress okay? I wasn't sure what to wear to something like this." "You look perfect," he managed. "Beautiful." She blushed. "Thank you. You clean up pretty nice yourself." He was wearing a tuxedo. He wore them often enough for events. But the way she was looking at him made him feel like he was wearing one for the first time. The gala was a success. Hundreds of people attended. They raised over $2 million for cancer research. Patricia was there as a guest of honor, healthy and glowing. She gave a short speech about her journey, about how Gabriel's generosity had saved her life, about the importance of the research they were funding. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. After Patricia's speech there was dancing. Gabriel should have been mingling with donors. Instead, he found himself walking toward Tanya. She was standing near the windows looking out at the city lights. "Dance with me," he said. She turned, surprised. "What?" "Dance with me. Please. I'm working. I should make sure everything's running smoothly. Everything's perfect. You did an amazing job. Now dance with me." He held out his hand. After a moment she took it. They walked onto the dance floor. A slow song was playing. Gabriel pulled her close, one hand on her waist, the other holding her hand. She fit perfectly against him. They swayed to the music. Neither of them spoke. Around them, other couples danced, but Gabriel only saw Tanya. Her hand in his. Her body close to his. Her eyes looking up at him with something he didn't dare name. Thank you for everything you did tonight, he said quietly. This event, it means a lot to me. Thank you for doing it. For creating the foundation in Mama's name. She's so proud. I'm proud of you. You made this happen. Your hard work, your dedication, your vision. This was all you. It was all you. You're the one who decided to give back. You're the one who turned your grief into something positive. You helped me do that. You and your mother. You both reminded me what matters. Connection. Love. Helping people. I'd forgotten that. She smiled up at him. You never forgot. You just buried it under all that business armor. But it was always there. They kept dancing. The song changed, but they didn't let go of each other. Other people were looking at them now, whispering. Gabriel Morrison dancing with his assistant. The gossip would start tomorrow. He didn't care. For the first time in years, he didn't care what people thought. All he cared about was this moment. This woman. This feeling. Tanya, he said. Yes. I need to tell you something. And please, if it makes you uncomfortable, say so, and we'll pretend I never said it. Okay. He took a breath. I have feelings for you. Real feelings. I've been fighting them for months, but I can't anymore. You're amazing. You're kind and strong and smart and beautiful. You make me want to be better. You make me feel alive in ways I haven't felt in years. And I know this is complicated. I'm your boss. There's a power imbalance. If you want to transfer departments or even leave the company, I'll give you glowing references and a generous severance. But I needed you to know how I feel. Tanya had stopped dancing. She was staring at him, her eyes wide. Say something, he said. Please. You have feelings for me? Yes. Real feelings? Not just gratitude for how I help at work. This has nothing to do with work. This is about you. The person you are. The way you make me feel. I'm falling for you, Tanya. Maybe I've already fallen. Tears gathered in her eyes. Happy tears, he thought. He hoped. I have feelings for you too, she whispered. I've been so scared because I thought it was just me. I thought I was being silly, having a crush on my boss like some teenager. But it's more than that. You're more than that. You're good and kind and generous. You saved my mama. You believed in me when no one else did. You make me feel valued and seen. I'm falling for you too. Relief and joy flooded through Gabriel. Really? Really? He pulled her closer. They were barely moving now, just holding each other in the middle of the dance floor. People were definitely staring now. Gabriel still didn't care. What do we do now? Tanya asked. We figure it out together. Carefully. Properly. I don't want to mess this up. Me neither. They danced until the song ended. Then Gabriel led her off the floor, back to the windows where she'd been standing before. I have an idea, he said. What if we take this slow? We'll date properly. I'll take you to dinner, to movies, to all the places people go when they're getting to know each other. But at work we stay professional. We don't let our personal relationship affect the job. I'd like that. But what about the other employees? The gossip. Let them talk. As long as everything is consensual and professional, it's no one's business but ours. Okay. She smiled. When do we start? How about tomorrow? I'll pick you up at 7. We'll go to dinner somewhere nice. Like a real date? Exactly like a real date. Because that's what this is. I'm asking you out, Tanya Brooks. Will you go to dinner with me? Yes, she said, her smile growing wider. Yes, I will. They spent the rest of the gala trying to act normal. They mingled with guests. They thanked donors. They celebrated the success of the event. But every time their eyes met across the room, they smiled, sharing a secret that was just theirs. Patricia noticed, of course. At the end of the night, as people were leaving, she pulled Tanya aside. You and Gabriel, she said. Something's changed. Maybe, Tanya admitted. Good. That man needs someone to love him. And you need someone who sees how special you are. You're good for each other. You don't think it's too soon? Or too complicated? Love is always complicated. But when it's right, it's worth it. That night, lying in bed, Tanya couldn't sleep. Her mind kept replaying the evening. Gabriel's hand in hers. His voice saying he had feelings for her. The way he'd looked at her like she was the only person in the world. She'd spent so long just surviving, just trying to make it through each day. She'd stopped thinking about things like romance or happiness. All that mattered was taking care of her mother, paying the bills, staying afloat. But now, with her mother healthy and her job secure, she could think about other things. She could think about Gabriel. She could think about building a life that was more than just work and worry. She could think about hope. About love. About a future that felt bright instead of scary. Across town, Gabriel was having similar thoughts. He sat on his balcony with a glass of wine looking out at the city. Tomorrow night he had a date with Tanya. A real date. The thought made him smile. He'd been alone for so long. He'd convinced himself he liked it that way. But Tanya had shown him what he was missing. She'd brought light into his life. She'd reminded him that money and success meant nothing if you had no one to share them with. His mother would have loved Tanya. Ruth Morrison had always wanted Gabriel to find someone kind, someone real. She'd warned him not to chase money at the expense of happiness. Money comes and goes, she told him once. But love, real love, that's what lasts. That's what matters. He hadn't understood then. He'd been too young, too focused on lifting them out of poverty. But he understood now. I found someone, Mom, he said quietly to the night sky. Someone special. I think you'd approve. The wind whispered through the trees. It almost sounded like his mother's voice, gentle and loving. I'm proud of you, son. Gabriel raised his glass to the stars. For the first time in 20 years he felt at peace. He felt whole. He felt ready to love again. The summer months flew by in a blur of happiness. Gabriel and Tanya dated like normal people. He took her to restaurants she'd only dreamed of eating at. She introduced him to her favorite hole-in-the-wall diners where the food was cheap but delicious. They went to movies, walked in parks, talked for hours about everything and nothing. At work they remained professional. Tanya still called him Mr. Morrison in the office. They didn't show public affection. But everyone knew anyway. You couldn't hide that kind of connection. The way they looked at each other gave them away every time. Some employees gossiped. Some were happy for them. Most just shrugged and went about their business. Gabriel had proven over the past months that he was a fair boss. If he wanted to date his assistant, that was his business. Patricia's health continued to improve. She'd been cancer-free for 4 months now. The doctors were thrilled with her progress. She'd gained weight back, her color returned, her energy increased. She looked like herself again. Actually, she looked better than herself. She looked happy. Part of that happiness was watching her daughter fall in love. Tanya glowed these days. She smiled all the time. She talked about Gabriel constantly. Patricia had never seen her daughter so happy. He's good for you, Patricia told Tanya one evening. They were cooking dinner together, preparing for another Sunday meal with Gabriel. He is. I still can't believe this is real sometimes. That someone like him could want someone like me. Stop that. You're a catch, baby girl. Smart, beautiful, kind, hardworking. Any man would be lucky to have you. You're biased. I'm honest. Patricia stirred the pot on the stove. But I'll tell you what I see. Gabriel doesn't look at you like you're lucky to be with him. He looks at you like he's lucky to be with you. That's how you know it's real. Tanya thought about that. It was true. Gabriel treated her like she was precious. Like she mattered. He asked about her day. He remembered little things she mentioned. He supported her goals. He made her feel valued not just as his girlfriend but as a person. And she did the same for him. She challenged him when he got too focused on work. She reminded him to take breaks, to rest, to enjoy life. She made him laugh. She made him think. She made him better. They were good for each other. Everyone could see it. One Saturday in August, Gabriel took Tanya on a surprise trip. He wouldn't tell her where they were going, just said to pack an overnight bag and comfortable shoes. They drove for 2 hours out of the city into wine country. The landscape shifted from buildings and concrete to rolling hills and vineyards. Finally, Gabriel pulled up to a beautiful bed and breakfast. It was a restored farmhouse surrounded by gardens. What is this place? Tanya asked, amazed. A weekend getaway. I thought we could use some time away. Just the two of us. No work. No distractions. Just us. They checked into a room with a view of the vineyards. It was beautiful and romantic, with a big bed and a private balcony. Tanya felt like she was in a movie. They spent the weekend exploring. They visited wineries and tasted wine. They walked through gardens. They had picnics under trees. They talked for hours, sharing stories from their pasts, dreams for their futures. On Saturday night, they had dinner at the bed and breakfast restaurant. Afterward, they sat on their balcony watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. I could stay here forever, Tanya said. Me too. Gabriel reached over and took her hand. I've never felt this way before. This happy. This content. You've changed my life, Tanya. You changed mine first. No, I just gave you an opportunity. You changed your life with your hard work and determination. I was just lucky enough to be there to see it. She squeezed his hand. We were both lucky. To find each other. To get a second chance. To letting kindness win. They sat in comfortable silence, holding hands, watching the sky darken. Stars began to appear one by one until the sky was full of them. "Tanya," Gabriel said, "I need to ask you something." "Okay." "Do you ever worry that you're with me because I helped your mother? That maybe you feel obligated?" She turned to look at him, surprised. "Is that what you think?" "I don't know. Sometimes I worry that you're grateful and you're confusing gratitude with love." Tanya thought about how to answer. She wanted to get this right. "At first," she said slowly, "I was grateful. Of course I was. You saved Mama's life. I'll be grateful for that until the day I die. But that's not why I'm with you. I'm with you because you're kind. Because you're smart and funny and interesting. Because you challenge me and support me. Because you make me want to be better. Because when I'm with you, I feel like the best version of myself." She paused. "I'm not with you because you're rich. I'm not with you because I feel obligated. I'm with you because I love you. And I do love you, Gabriel. I love you so much." Gabriel's eyes were shining. "I love you too. I've wanted to say it for weeks, but I was scared. Scared you'd think it was too soon. Scared you didn't feel the same way. I feel the same way. I felt it for a while now." He pulled her into his arms and kissed her. It was their first real kiss, slow and sweet and full of promise. When they pulled apart, they were both smiling. "Say it again," Gabriel said. "I love you." Again. "I love you, Gabriel Morrison." "I love you too, Tanya Brooks. I love you more than I thought I could ever love anyone." They held each other as the stars came out, both of them feeling like they'd found something rare and precious. Something worth protecting. Something worth building a life around. The weekend ended too quickly. Monday morning came and they were back at work. But everything felt different now. They'd said the words. They'd admitted their feelings. There was no pretending anymore. At work they were still professional. But everyone could sense the change. Gabriel was lighter, happier. He smiled at employees in the hallway. He praised good work. He was patient with mistakes. The office culture continued to improve. Tanya was thriving too. She'd taken to her role like she was born for it. She managed Gabriel's schedule flawlessly. She handled difficult situations with grace. She'd become invaluable to the company. Sarah told her, "You know, Gabriel is already talking about promoting you. He thinks you should be in management." "Really? But I haven't even been here a year." "Doesn't matter. You've proven yourself. You're smart, capable, and you understand business. You could go far in this company if you want to." Tanya did want to. She discovered she loved business. She loved solving problems, making things more efficient, helping the company succeed. She'd started taking online courses at night, learning about finance and operations and strategy. Gabriel supported her education fully. He helped her study. He answered her questions. He was proud of her ambition. One evening they were at his house. It was the first time Tanya had been there. The house was enormous, with high ceilings and expensive furniture and views of the city. But it felt empty. Cold. Like a showroom instead of a home. "This place is beautiful," Tanya said, walking through the living room. "But it doesn't feel like you." "I know. I bought it because I thought I should. Successful people have big houses, right? But I've never felt comfortable here. It's too much space for one person." "What would make it feel like home?" Gabriel looked at her. "You. Having you here would make it feel like home." It was too soon to talk about moving in together. They both knew that. But the conversation was there, hovering in the air between them. Building toward something. Moving toward a future together. By September, Patricia had been cancer-free for 6 months. The doctors officially declared her in remission. The chance of the cancer returning was getting smaller every day. She was healthy. She was alive. She was thriving. To celebrate, Gabriel organized a small party at his house. He invited Patricia, Tanya, Rochelle, Sarah, James his business partner, and a few other close friends. He had the place catered with Patricia's favorite foods. Patricia arrived wearing a beautiful green dress. Her hair had grown back after chemo. She looked radiant, healthy, full of life. "Thank you for this," she told Gabriel, hugging him. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes, I did. You're family now. We celebrate family." Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "You're a good man, Gabriel Morrison. I knew it the first time I met you. I saw the goodness in your heart. You saved my life as much as I saved yours. You and Tanya both. You brought love back into my world." The party was wonderful. People laughed and ate and celebrated. Patricia told stories about her cancer journey, about her recovery, about the importance of hope and love and not giving up. "I should have died," she said at one point. "The cancer was bad. The odds weren't good. But I'm here. I'm alive. And I owe that to Gabriel, who paid for my surgery. To Tanya, who never stopped fighting for me. To God, who answered our prayers. But mostly I owe it to love. Love is what saved me. Love is what heals us. Love is what makes life worth living. Everyone clapped. Tanya was crying. Gabriel had tears in his eyes too. Later, after most of the guests had left, Patricia pulled Gabriel aside. I need to talk to you about something, she said. Of course. Is everything okay? Everything's perfect. But I'm getting older, Gabriel. And I've been thinking about the future. About Tanya's future. Okay. That girl loves you. She loves you with her whole heart. And I can see you love her the same way. I do. More than anything. Good. Then don't wait too long. Life is short. I learned that the hard way. If you love someone, you tell them. If you want to build a life with them, you build it. Don't waste time waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is now. Gabriel smiled. Are you telling me to propose to your daughter? I'm telling you that if you're thinking about it, don't overthink it. Love is simple. We make it complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Thank you, Patricia. For everything. For accepting me. For trusting me with Tanya. For being the mother I wish mine could have lived to be. Patricia hugged him tight. Your mother is proud of you. I know she is. You turned your pain into purpose. You turned your success into service. That's all any parent wants for their child. After Patricia left, Gabriel sat alone in his big house. But it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt full of possibility. Full of hope. Full of love. Patricia was right. He did want to marry Tanya. He'd known it for months but had been waiting, thinking it was too soon, worried about moving too fast. But why wait? Life was short. Patricia's cancer had proven that. Love was rare. His loneliness before Tanya had proven that. When you found something real, something precious, you held on to it. Gabriel made a decision. He was going to marry Tanya Brooks. He was going to build a life with her. He was going to fill this big empty house with love and laughter and family. He just had to figure out how to ask her. And how to make it perfect. Because Tanya deserved perfect. She deserved everything. Despite her happiness, Tanya couldn't shake a nagging feeling of inadequacy. She'd grown up poor. She'd cleaned toilets for a living. Now she was dating a millionaire, living a life she'd never imagined possible. Sometimes it felt like a dream. Other times it felt like a lie. She was sitting in Gabriel's office one afternoon, organizing his files, when James Peterson walked in. James was Gabriel's business partner, a wealthy older man who'd been in business for 40 years. He was usually friendly, but today his expression was serious. Tanya, do you have a minute? He asked. Of course. He closed the door and sat down. I want to talk to you about Gabriel. Tanya's stomach tightened. Is something wrong? No, nothing's wrong. I just want to make sure you understand what you're getting into. I don't understand. James leaned back in his chair. Gabriel is a good man. The best man I know, actually. But he's also incredibly wealthy. And wealth attracts certain kinds of people. People who want to take advantage. People who see dollar signs instead of human beings. I'm not like that. I believe you. But you need to understand that others will think you are. They'll say you're a gold digger. They'll say you're using Gabriel for his money. They'll question your motives. And it's going to be hard. Tanya felt like she'd been punched. Why are you telling me this? Because I care about Gabriel. And I think I'm starting to care about you too. You're good for him. Anyone can see that. But this relationship is going to face challenges that most relationships don't. You need to be prepared. I love him. I don't care about his money. I know that. But when you marry a wealthy man, and I think Gabriel plans to marry you, you become part of his world. Charity galas. Business dinners. Social circles where everyone has money and privilege. You're going to feel out of place. People are going to judge you. You need to decide if you can handle that. After James left, Tanya sat at her desk feeling sick. She'd been so focused on her feelings for Gabriel that she hadn't thought about the bigger picture. The reality of their different worlds. The challenges they'd face. That evening she talked to Rochelle about it over coffee. He's right, Rochelle said. People are going to judge you. It's going to suck. But the question is, do you love Gabriel enough to deal with it? I do. But what if I can't fit into his world? What if I embarrass him? Girl, stop it. You are not an embarrassment. You're smart, beautiful, and kind. If his rich friends can't see that, they're the ones with the problem, not you. But I don't know anything about their world. I don't know which fork to use at fancy dinners. I don't know how to make small talk with millionaires. I barely finished high school. So what? Gabriel doesn't care about that. And anyone who does care isn't worth impressing anyway. You don't understand. I love him so much. The thought of being the reason people judge him or look down on him kills me. Rochelle reached across the table and grabbed Tanya's hand. Listen to me. You are not less than anyone because you grew up poor. You are not less than anyone because you worked as a janitor. If anything, that makes you more. It makes you real. It makes you strong. Gabriel sees that. That's why he loves you. What if it's not enough? It's enough. Trust me. It's more than enough. But Tanya's doubts didn't go away. They grew worse when Gabriel invited her to a business dinner the following week. It was at an expensive restaurant with several of his wealthy clients. Tanya spent the entire day anxious about what to wear, what to say, how to act. She arrived at the restaurant in a simple blue dress she'd bought specifically for the occasion. Gabriel was already there, looking handsome in a dark suit. He smiled when he saw her and introduced her to the other guests. Everyone was polite. Too polite. The kind of politeness that felt fake. Tanya sat quietly through dinner, listening to conversations about investments in real estate and private jets. She had nothing to contribute. She felt invisible. One woman, the wife of a client, asked Tanya what she did. I'm Gabriel's executive assistant, Tanya said. Oh, how nice. And before that? I worked several jobs. Cleaning mainly. The woman's smile became even more fixed. How interesting. It was clear she found it anything but interesting. After dinner, as they were leaving, Tanya overheard two of the clients talking. That's Gabriel's girlfriend? His assistant. Apparently. I heard she used to clean his offices. How quaint. The word stung. Quaint. Like she was a curiosity. A novelty. Not a real person. In the car ride home, Tanya was quiet. Gabriel noticed. Are you okay? He asked. I'm fine. You're not fine. What's wrong? She didn't want to tell him. Didn't want to seem weak or insecure. But the words came out anyway. I don't fit in your world, Gabriel. Tonight proved that. Those people, they looked at me like I was nobody. Like I was beneath them. And maybe they're right. Gabriel pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned to face her. Listen to me. You are not beneath anyone. Those people don't matter. Their opinions don't matter. The only thing that matters is how we feel about each other. But they're your clients. Your world. I don't belong there. Yes, you do. You belong anywhere I am. And if they can't see how amazing you are, that's their loss, not yours. I heard them, Gabriel. After dinner. They called me quaint. They think I'm some poor girl you're dating out of pity or charity or something. Gabriel's jaw tightened. Who said that? It doesn't matter. The point is, they're probably right. Why are you with me? Really? I'm nobody special. I have nothing to offer you. Stop. His voice was firm but gentle. You are everything special. You're kind and strong and brilliant. You make me laugh. You make me think. You make me want to be better. You saved me, Tanya. Not the other way around. I was empty before I met you. I was just going through the motions. You brought me back to life. But I'm poor. I'm uneducated. You're perfect. Exactly as you are. And I love you. Not in spite of where you came from, but partly because of it. You understand struggle. You understand hard work. You understand what really matters. Most of the people at that dinner tonight have never had to work hard for anything. They've never known what it's like to choose between eating and paying rent. You have. That doesn't make you less. It makes you more. Tears were streaming down Tanya's face now. I'm scared, Gabriel. I'm scared I'm going to wake up one day and you'll realize you made a mistake. That you could do so much better than me. Gabriel unbuckled his seatbelt and pulled her into his arms. There is no better than you. You're it for me. You're everything. And I'm going to spend every day proving that to you until you believe it. They sat in the car for a long time holding each other. Eventually, Tanya's tears stopped. Her breathing steadied. Gabriel's words sank in. He loved her. He chose her. That had to be enough. But the doubts didn't disappear completely. They lingered in the back of her mind, whispering that she didn't belong, that she wasn't good enough, that this couldn't last. Gabriel noticed her continued insecurity. It broke his heart. He talked to Patricia about it. She doesn't believe she deserves this happiness, Patricia said. She spent her whole life struggling. She doesn't know how to accept good things. How do I help her? Keep loving her. Keep showing her. Eventually she'll believe it. Gabriel tried. He told her every day how much he loved her. He praised her work. He included her in everything. He made sure she knew she was valued, wanted, cherished. Slowly Tanya started to believe it. The doubts were still there, but they were quieter now. Easier to ignore. One day she was having lunch with Sarah when Sarah said something that shifted Tanya's perspective. "You know what I admire about you?" Sarah said. "You're not trying to be someone you're not. Gabriel's last girlfriend before you, she was constantly trying to impress everyone. Wearing designer clothes she couldn't afford. Name-dropping constantly. Pretending to be someone she wasn't. You're just yourself. Honest and real. That's why Gabriel loves you." "He had a girlfriend before me?" "A few. None of them lasted. They all wanted the lifestyle more than they wanted him. You're the first one who actually sees him. Who loves him for who he is, not what he has." That conversation stayed with Tanya. Sarah was right. She wasn't trying to be someone else. She was just being herself. And Gabriel loved her for it. Maybe that was enough. Maybe she didn't need to fit perfectly into his world. Maybe she just needed to be herself and trust that Gabriel loved her for who she was. The realization was freeing. She stopped worrying so much about what other people thought. She stopped comparing herself to Gabriel's wealthy friends. She focused on what mattered: her relationship with Gabriel, her work, her mother's health, her own goals and dreams. And as she stopped doubting herself, she bloomed. She grew more confident at work. She spoke up in meetings. She offered ideas. She became a real asset to the company, not just Gabriel's girlfriend who happened to work there. Gabriel saw the change. He was proud of her. More than that, he was awed by her. She'd overcome so much. She'd fought through poverty and heartbreak and doubt. And she'd come out stronger. She was the strongest person he'd ever met. And he was going to marry her. October arrived with cool weather and changing leaves. Patricia was healthy and happy. Tanya was thriving at work and in her relationship. Gabriel was planning something big, though Tanya didn't know it yet. He'd been working with a jeweler for weeks, designing the perfect engagement ring. He'd chosen a diamond that reminded him of Tanya. Strong, brilliant, beautiful. The setting was simple but elegant. Not too flashy. Perfect for her. He'd also been planning the proposal. He wanted it to be special but not overwhelming. Intimate but memorable. Something that felt like them. He decided on a garden. The same garden where they'd had the charity gala, where they'd first danced together, where they'd first admitted their feelings. It felt right. Full circle. But before he could propose, he needed to do something else. He needed to tell Tanya the complete truth about his past. About the mistakes he'd made. About the man he'd been before she came into his life. One evening he took her to his house. They had dinner on his balcony under the stars. After they ate, Gabriel said, "I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you a long time ago." Tanya's heart started racing. "Okay. Before I met you, I was a different person. Harder. Colder. I'd built my company by being ruthless. I didn't care who I hurt as long as I made money. I fired people for small mistakes. I crushed competitors without mercy. I was the kind of man people feared and respected but didn't like. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know who I was. And I want you to understand how much you've changed me. You made me remember why I started building the company in the first place. Not for money. For purpose. To make a difference. To honor my mother's memory by helping others. You're helping now. The Cancer Foundation. The way you treat employees. You're making a difference. Because of you. Before you, I'd forgotten what mattered. I'd become the kind of man I would have hated when I was poor. The kind of man who looks down on people who are struggling. The kind of man who fired you for eating a sandwich. You apologize for that. You made it right. But I did it in the first place. That's who I was. And I need you to know that. I need you to decide if you can love that person. The person I was before you. Tanya was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I don't love the person you were. I love the person you are. The person you're becoming. We all make mistakes, Gabriel. We all have things in our past we're not proud of. What matters is that we learn. That we grow. That we become better. You're better than I deserve. No, we're perfect for each other. You helped me when I needed it most. Now I'm helping you become the person you want to be. That's what love is. Helping each other grow. Supporting each other. Believing in each other." Gabriel reached across the table and took her hand. "I love you so much. More than I knew it was possible to love someone. I love you too. Tanya, I need to ask you something important." Her heart started racing again. Was this it? Was he about to propose? But instead he said, "If we get married someday, and I hope we do, I want you to know that I'll protect you. I've already talked to my lawyer about a prenuptial agreement." Tanya's face fell. A prenup. Of course. He was protecting his money. Making sure she couldn't take advantage of him if things went wrong. Gabriel saw her expression change. No, wait. Let me explain. The prenup isn't to protect me from you. It's to protect you. What? If something happens to me, if I die or become incapacitated, the prenup ensures you're taken care of. It guarantees you'll inherit everything. The house, the company, the money, all of it. And it guarantees continued medical care for your mother for the rest of her life, no matter what. Tanya stared at him. You want to protect me? Yes. James warned me that people might think you're with me for money. I want to make sure that's never a question. I want legal protection for you. So no one can challenge your inheritance. So you and your mother will always be secure. Tears filled her eyes. You'd give me everything? You are everything. The money, the company, it doesn't mean anything without you. I'd give it all up tomorrow if it meant keeping you in my life. I don't want your money, Gabriel. I just want you. I know that. Everyone who matters knows that. But I want you to be protected. I want to make sure you're never in the position you were in a year ago. Desperate and scared and struggling. I never want you to feel that way again. Tanya couldn't speak. She was crying too hard. Gabriel got up and pulled her into his arms. I love you, he whispered. I love you so much. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you know it. Making sure you feel safe and loved and valued. I do feel that. Every single day I feel that. They held each other on the balcony, the cool October breeze around them, the city lights glittering below. Tanya had never felt so loved. So cherished. So seen. She'd spent so long thinking she wasn't good enough for Gabriel. But he thought she was too good for him. He was giving her everything not because he had to but because he wanted to. Because he loved her that much. Later that night, as Tanya was getting ready to leave, Gabriel said, Will you spend the day with me this Saturday? I want to take you somewhere special. Where? It's a surprise. I love your surprises. Good. Then wear something comfortable. We'll be outside. Tanya left that night feeling like she was floating. She drove home and found her mother still awake, reading in bed. Mama, I think Gabriel's going to propose. Patricia smiled. About time. That man's been planning something for weeks. I can tell. How can you tell? He gets this look on his face when he sees you. Like he knows a secret. Like he can't wait to tell you something. It's the same look your daddy had before he proposed to me. Tanya hadn't heard her mother talk about her father in years. He died when Tanya was a baby. She barely remembered him. Tell me about Daddy. About when he proposed. Patricia's eyes went soft with memory. He took me to the park where we first met. It was nothing fancy. Just him on one knee with a simple ring. But it was perfect because it was him. Because it was us. That's what matters in a proposal. Not how expensive it is or how many people see it. What matters is the love behind it. I hope he proposes. I hope he asks me. He will. And you'll say yes. And you'll build a beautiful life together. That's what I see for you. Happiness. Love. Everything I ever wanted for my baby girl. Saturday came. Gabriel picked Tanya up at noon. He wouldn't tell her where they were going, just kept smiling mysteriously as he drove. Finally, they arrived at the garden where the charity gala had been held. But it looked different now. The leaves had changed colors. Orange and red and gold everywhere. It was beautiful. Gabriel led her down a path to a secluded area surrounded by trees. There was a blanket spread out with a picnic basket. Flowers were arranged around the space. It was perfect. This is beautiful, Tanya said. This is where we first danced. Where we first admitted our feelings. I wanted to bring you back here. To this place where everything changed. They sat on the blanket and had a picnic lunch. They talked and laughed and enjoyed the autumn afternoon. Then, as the sun started to set, Gabriel stood up. Tanya, can you stand up for a minute? She stood curious. Gabriel took her hands in his. A year ago I was a different person. Alone. Cold. Focused only on work and money. I'd forgotten what really mattered. Then you came into my life. Actually, you'd been in my life for 2 years, but I was too blind to see you. Too focused on myself to notice the amazing woman working in my building. Tanya's heart was pounding. The day I fired you was the worst day of my life. But it was also the beginning of the best thing that ever happened to me. Because it made me see you. Really see you. Your strength. Your kindness. Your love for your mother. Your determination to do the right thing even when it was hard. Gabriel got down on one knee. Tanya gasped. You saved me, Tanya Brooks. You brought love and light and purpose back into my life. You made me remember why I do what I do. You made me want to be better. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of you. He pulled out a small velvet box and opened it. Inside was a ring. A beautiful diamond that caught the sunset light and sparkled like a star. Will you marry me? Will you build a life with me? Will you let me love you forever? Tanya was crying so hard she could barely see. But she managed to nod. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Gabriel stood up and slipped the ring on her finger. Then he pulled her into his arms and kissed her. Around them, leaves fell from the trees like confetti. The sunset painted the sky in shades of pink and gold. It was perfect. Absolutely perfect. When they finally pulled apart, Tanya looked at the ring on her finger. It was beautiful, but more than that, it was a promise. A promise of love and commitment and a future together. I can't believe this is real, she whispered. It's real. We're real. This love is the realest thing I've ever known. They sat on the blanket holding each other as the sun set completely and stars began to appear. Tanya felt happier than she'd ever felt in her life. All the doubts, all the fears, all the insecurity melted away. Gabriel loved her. He wanted to marry her. He wanted to build a life with her. We should tell Mama, Tanya said. Actually, I already did. What? I asked her permission last week. Old-fashioned, I know. But she's important to you, which makes her important to me. I wanted her blessing. What did she say? She cried. Then she hugged me. Then she said, it's about time. Then she told me if I ever hurt you, she'd come back from the grave and haunt me. Tanya laughed through her tears. That sounds like Mama. They drove back to Tanya's apartment. Patricia was waiting, pretending to be surprised when they told her the news. But her smile gave her away. She'd been waiting for this. Let me see the ring, Patricia demanded. Tanya held out her hand. Oh, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. My baby's getting married. The three of them hugged. Patricia was crying. Tanya was crying. Even Gabriel's eyes were wet. Your mama would be proud of you, Patricia told Gabriel. Ruth would be so proud of the man you've become. Thank you. That means everything. They celebrated with champagne Patricia had hidden in the refrigerator. They talked about wedding plans. They dreamed about the future. It was one of the best nights of Tanya's life. Later, after Gabriel left and Tanya was getting ready for bed, Patricia said, You did it, baby girl. You found your person. Your true love. We both did. He's becoming family. He already is family. From the moment he decided to help us, he became family. That's what family is. People who show up when you need them. People who love you without conditions. People who make your life better just by being in it. Tanya hugged her mother tight. I love you, Mama. I love you too, sweetheart. Now get some sleep. You have a wedding to plan. Tanya went to bed that night wearing her engagement ring, feeling like the luckiest person in the world. She'd started this year scared and desperate. Now she was ending it loved and secure and engaged to the man of her dreams. Life could change so fast. One day you're at rock bottom. The next day you're on top of the world. The key was holding on during the bad times and accepting the good times when they came. Tanya had held on. And now she was reaping the rewards. Not just the money or the security. The real reward was love. Gabriel's love. Her mother's love. The love she'd found in herself. That was what made life worth living. Not money. Not status. Love. Always love. The next few months were a whirlwind of happiness. Gabriel and Tanya planned their wedding. They decided on a small ceremony in the spring. Just close friends and family. Nothing too fancy. Something that felt like them. Patricia threw herself into wedding planning with enthusiasm. She helped Tanya pick out a dress, a beautiful white gown that was simple but elegant. She helped choose flowers and decorations. She was living her best life, healthy and happy, watching her daughter plan her future. At work, the news of the engagement was met with joy. Most employees were genuinely happy for Gabriel and Tanya. A few gossiped, but even they had to admit that the couple seemed genuinely in love. Sarah threw Tanya a bridal shower at the office. It was a surprise, and Tanya cried when she walked in to find decorations and gifts and all her co-workers celebrating with her. You deserve this, Sarah told her. You work so hard. You're so kind to everyone. We're all happy for you. Gabriel's business partner James pulled him aside one day. I was wrong about her, he admitted. I thought she might be using you. But I see it now. She loves you. Really loves you. You're a lucky man. I know I am. I thank God for her every day. Your mother would have loved her. I think she does love her. Wherever she is, I think she's happy for us. As the wedding approached, Gabriel worked on finalizing the prenup. His lawyer drafted it exactly as Gabriel requested. Everything protected for Tanya. If something happened to him, she'd inherit the house, the company, all his assets. Patricia's medical care was guaranteed for life. Tanya would never have to worry about money again. When the lawyer presented the documents, he looked concerned. "Mr. Morrison, are you sure about this? You're giving her everything. There's no protection for you at all." "I don't need protection from Tanya. She's not that kind of person. This prenup is for her peace of mind, not mine. But if the marriage fails..." "It won't fail. I'm going to spend every day making sure it doesn't fail. But if something happens to me, I want to know Tanya and Patricia are taken care of. That's all that matters." Gabriel presented the prenup to Tanya on a quiet evening at his house. They sat together on the couch while he explained every clause. "This seems like a lot," Tanya said, reading through the documents. "You're giving me so much. I'm protecting you. That's different. But what if people say I married you for money? This prenup basically proves I get everything. Then they're idiots. Anyone who knows you knows the truth. You didn't want my money. You wanted me. This prenup just makes sure you're secure. That's all. I don't need all this, Gabriel. I just need you. I know. But sign it anyway. For me. So I can sleep at night knowing you're protected." Tanya signed the papers. She didn't care about the money. She cared about Gabriel. But if signing made him happy, she'd sign. Winter turned to spring. Patricia remained healthy and strong. The wedding date approached. Gabriel and Tanya were both excited and nervous. A week before the wedding, they had their bachelor and bachelorette parties. Nothing wild. Just dinner with friends. Tanya went out with Rochelle and Sarah and a few other women from work. Gabriel had dinner with James and some of his friends. The women ended up at Tanya's apartment, talking and laughing late into the night. "Can you believe a year ago, you were working 3 jobs and scared your mama wouldn't make it?" Rochelle said. "Look at you now. Getting married to a millionaire. Living like a princess." "I'm not living like a princess. I'm living like me. Gabriel just happens to be rich." "Girl, you're going to be Mrs. Gabriel Morrison. That comes with certain expectations. Are you ready for that?" Tanya thought about it. "I think so. I'm not going to change who I am. Gabriel doesn't want me to. But I'm also not going to hide from his world. I belong there now. He's made that clear." "You've come so far," Sarah said. "When you first started at Morrison Tech, you were so unsure of yourself. Now look at you. Confident. Capable. A real leader. That's because you all believed in me. Gabriel believed in me. That makes all the difference." The conversation turned to wedding plans, to married life, to dreams for the future. They talked until past midnight. Finally, everyone went home and Tanya climbed into bed next to her mother, who was already asleep. She looked at her sleeping mother's face. Patricia looked peaceful. Healthy. So different from a year ago when she'd been pale and sick and scared. "Thank you, God," Tanya prayed silently. "Thank you for healing Mama. Thank you for Gabriel. Thank you for giving us this second chance at happiness." The wedding day arrived. It was a perfect spring day, warm with a gentle breeze. The ceremony was in a garden, surrounded by flowers and trees. About 50 people attended. Patricia walked Tanya down the aisle, both of them crying happy tears. Gabriel stood at the altar looking handsome in a dark blue suit. When he saw Tanya, his face lit up with pure joy. She was wearing her white dress with simple flowers in her hair. She looked beautiful. More than beautiful. She looked radiant. The ceremony was short but meaningful. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Gabriel went first. "Tanya, a year ago I was lost. I had everything money could buy, but I had nothing that mattered. Then you came into my life and changed everything. You taught me about love. About kindness. About what really matters. You made me want to be better. You made me believe in second chances. I promise to love you forever. I promise to support your dreams. I promise to be the husband you deserve. I promise to fill our life with the same love and joy you've brought to mine." Tanya was crying as she said her vows. "Gabriel, you saved my mama's life. But more than that, you saved my heart. You saw value in me when I couldn't see it in myself. You believed in me when no one else did. You took a chance on a janitor eating a sandwich and turned her whole life around. I promise to love you with everything I have. I promise to stand by you through good times and bad. I promise to remind you every day that you are good and kind and worthy of love. I promise to build a life with you filled with hope and happiness." The officiant pronounced them husband and wife. Gabriel kissed her and everyone cheered. It was perfect. Everything Tanya had dreamed of and more. The reception was held in the same garden. There was dinner and dancing and toasts. Patricia gave a speech that made everyone cry. "My daughter is the strongest, kindest person I know," Patricia said. "She worked herself to the bone trying to save my life. She never gave up. She never stopped believing. And God rewarded her faith by bringing Gabriel into our lives. These two people are meant for each other. They bring out the best in each other. They make each other better. That's what true love is. And I'm so grateful I get to see my baby girl find it. James gave a toast to. I've known Gabriel for 15 years. I've seen him build an empire. But I've never seen him truly happy until he met Tanya. She's changed him in ways I didn't think possible. She's made him softer without making him weak. She's made him kinder without making him vulnerable. She's made him whole. Here's to the happy couple. May your love continue to grow and inspire everyone around you. Gabriel and Tanya's first dance was to a slow song. They held each other close, moving slowly to the music, lost in their own world. I can't believe you're my wife, Gabriel whispered. I can't believe you're my husband. I love you so much. I love you too. Forever. They danced until the song ended. Then Patricia cut in to dance with Gabriel while Rochelle danced with Tanya. Friends and family joined on the dance floor. It was joyful and warm and full of love. As the evening wound down, Gabriel pulled Tanya aside to a quiet corner of the garden. Thank you, he said. For what? For saying yes. For taking a chance on me. For being willing to build a life with me. Thank you for seeing me. For believing in me. For loving me. That's the easiest thing I've ever done. Loving you is as natural as breathing. They kissed as the sun set behind them, starting their married life with hope and love and gratitude for the journey that brought them together. Later that night, they left for their honeymoon. 2 weeks in Europe. Paris, Rome, Barcelona. Places Tanya had only seen in pictures. Gabriel wanted to show her the world. He wanted to give her everything. The honeymoon was magical. They explored cities and ate amazing food and made love in beautiful hotels. They talked for hours about their future. About the family they wanted to build. About the life they wanted to live. I want to have kids, Tanya said one evening as they sat at a cafe in Paris. I want to give them the childhood I didn't have. Stable. Secure. Full of love. I want that too. I want to be a better father than I had. I want to be present and involved. I want our kids to know they're loved. They will be. We'll make sure of it. They planned their future over wine and coffee and gelato. They dreamed big dreams. They made promises to each other and to themselves. By the time they returned from their honeymoon, they were more in love than ever. They moved into Gabriel's house together, and Tanya started making it feel like home. She added warmth and color. She filled it with photos and plants and life. Patricia visited often. She had her own room in their home. This way you can stay whenever you want, Mama, Tanya told her. I don't want to intrude. You're never intruding. You're family. And she was. Gabriel treated Patricia like his own mother. He called her Mom. He asked her advice. He made sure she had everything she needed. The three of them became a real family. Bound not by blood, but by love and gratitude and shared experience. Life was good. Better than good. It was everything Tanya had ever hoped for and more. But the best was yet to come. 6 months after the wedding, Tanya discovered she was pregnant. She'd suspected for a couple weeks but had been too scared to take a test. What if she was wrong? What if she got her hopes up for nothing? But one morning she finally took the test. And it was positive. She was pregnant. She was going to have a baby. Gabriel's baby. She wanted to tell him right away, but she decided to make it special. That evening she made his favorite dinner. She set the table with candles. She wore the red dress he loved. Gabriel came home from work tired but happy. His face lit up when he saw the setup. What's the occasion? He asked. Sit down. I have something to tell you. He sat, looking curious but not worried. Tanya's hands were shaking as she pulled out a small gift box. What's this? Open it. Inside the box was a tiny pair of baby shoes. Gabriel stared at them for a moment, not understanding. Then his eyes went wide. Are you? I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby. Gabriel jumped up from his chair and pulled her into his arms. He was crying. Actually crying. Tears of joy streaming down his face. We're having a baby? We're having a baby. I'm going to be a dad? You're going to be an amazing dad. They held each other, both crying, both overwhelmed with happiness. This was everything. This was life beginning again. This was hope made real. They told Patricia the next day. She screamed with joy. Then she cried. Then she thanked God. Then she hugged them both so tight they could barely breathe. I'm going to be a grandma, she kept saying. I'm going to be a grandma. The baby's going to be so lucky to have you, Tanya said. I'm the lucky one. A year and a half ago I thought I was dying. I thought I'd never see my daughter get married. I thought I'd never hold a grandchild. But here I am. healthy, happy, about to become a grandmother. God is so good. The pregnancy went smoothly. Tanya had morning sickness for the first few months, but after that she felt great. Gabriel was attentive and caring. He went to every doctor appointment. He read books about parenting. He baby-proofed the house months before it was necessary. They found out they were having a boy. Gabriel cried again when they got the news. A son, he kept saying. We're having a son. They decided to name him after Gabriel's father, who had died when Gabriel was young. Michael Gabriel Morrison. Mickey for short. Gabriel started preparing the nursery. He painted it a soft green. He built the crib himself. He wanted everything to be perfect for his son. As Tanya's belly grew, Gabriel would talk to the baby every night. He'd tell Mickey about his day. He'd tell him about his grandmother Ruth, who Mickey would never meet but who would have loved him so much. He'd tell him about Patricia, who couldn't wait to spoil him rotten. You're going to have the best life, Gabriel would say to Tanya's belly. Your mama and I are going to make sure of it. You'll always know you're loved. You'll always feel safe. You'll always have a home. Tanya would cry listening to him. Gabriel was going to be such a good father. She'd known it from the beginning, but seeing him like this, so gentle and loving, confirmed it. At work, things were going well too. The cancer foundation Gabriel had started in Patricia's name was thriving. They'd raised millions of dollars for research and patient care. They'd helped hundreds of families afford treatment. They were making a real difference. Tanya had taken on more responsibility at Morrison Tech. She was now the chief operations officer. She'd worked her way up from janitor to executive in less than 2 years. Gabriel was so proud of her. So was everyone else. You're going to run this company someday, Gabriel told her. Maybe. After I take some time off to be a mom. You can do both. With the right support, you can do anything. And he made sure she had that support. He hired a nanny to help when the baby came. He made sure Tanya had flexibility in her schedule. He made it clear that family came first, always. Mickey was born on a sunny day in September. The delivery was long but not complicated. Gabriel was there the whole time, holding Tanya's hand, telling her how strong she was, how amazing she was. When Mickey finally arrived, Gabriel cut the umbilical cord with shaking hands. The nurse placed the baby on Tanya's chest. He was perfect, tiny and red and screaming. Perfect. Hi baby, Tanya whispered through her tears. Hi Mickey. We love you so much. Gabriel was crying too. He kissed Tanya's forehead. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this. For giving me everything. Patricia came to the hospital as soon as she heard. She held her grandson with tears streaming down her face. He's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. He has your eyes, Tanya. And Gabriel's chin. He's perfect. They brought Mickey home 3 days later. The house was ready. The nursery was perfect. Everything was in place. Those first few weeks were exhausting but joyful. Late-night feedings. Diaper changes. Learning how to be parents. But they did it together. Gabriel took time off work to help. He changed diapers and gave bottles and rocked Mickey to sleep. He was hands-on and involved. He was the father he'd always wanted to be. Tanya watched him with their son and fell in love with him all over again. This man, who'd once been cold and focused only on business, was now singing lullabies at 3 in the morning. He was gentle and patient and completely devoted. Patricia visited every day. She'd hold Mickey for hours, singing to him, telling him stories, loving him with her whole heart. This is what it's all about, she'd say. Family. Love. Being there for each other. This is what makes life worth living. As Mickey grew, so did the Morrison family. They celebrated first smiles and first laughs. They took hundreds of photos. They made memories. Gabriel created a trust fund for Mickey that would ensure he'd never have to worry about money. But more importantly, he made sure Mickey would grow up knowing love. Knowing kindness. Knowing that what matters isn't what you have, but who you are. I want him to understand struggle, Gabriel told Tanya one evening as they watched Mickey sleep. Not because I want him to suffer, but because I want him to have empathy. I want him to understand that not everyone has what we have. I want him to be grateful. He will be. We'll teach him. We'll show him how to be good and kind and generous. Just like you are. Just like you are too. You're the one who taught me, remember? They stood together watching their son sleep, both of them overwhelmed with gratitude for the life they'd built. A year after Mickey was born, Tanya threw a surprise party for Gabriel. It was his birthday and she wanted to do something special. She invited everyone important to him. Patricia, of course. James and Sarah from work. Friends they'd made over the past 2 years. She rented out the same garden where they'd gotten married. When Gabriel arrived, everyone yelled, "Surprise!" He looked genuinely shocked. And happy. So happy. I can't believe you did this, he told Tanya. You deserve it. You do so much for everyone else. Let us celebrate you. The party was wonderful. People gave speeches about Gabriel. About how he'd changed over the past 2 years. About how he'd become kinder and more generous. About how he'd built a company and a foundation that were making real differences in people's lives. Patricia spoke as she always did at Morrison family events. When I met Gabriel, I was sick and scared. I thought I was dying. And maybe I would have died if not for this man. But he didn't just save my life. He gave my daughter a future. He gave me a grandson. He gave us all hope. That's the kind of man Gabriel Morrison is. A man who believes in second chances. A man who leads with love. Then Tanya spoke. 2 years ago, Gabriel fired me for eating a sandwich. Everyone laughed. I thought my life was over. I thought I'd lost everything. But really, that was the moment everything began. Gabriel heard me. He saw me. He believed in me. And he gave me a chance. Not just a job. A chance at a real life. A chance at love. A chance at happiness. He changed everything for me and my mama. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life being grateful for that day. The worst day of my life turned out to be the best day. Because it brought me him. She raised her glass. To Gabriel. The kindest, most generous man I know. Happy birthday. I love you. Everyone toasted. Gabriel was crying again. He seemed to cry a lot these days. Happy tears. Grateful tears. Love tears. Later, after most of the guests had left, Gabriel and Tanya sat together watching Mickey play with Patricia. The sun was setting. The garden was peaceful. Did you ever imagine we'd be here? Gabriel asked. 2 years ago when I fired you, did you ever think this would be our life? Never. Not in a million years. I thought you were horrible. I was horrible. No, you were hurt. You'd built walls around your heart. You'd forgotten how to let people in. You broke those walls down. You let me break them down. That takes courage. Gabriel pulled her close. I love our life. I love our family. I love you. This is everything I never knew I wanted. Me too. All I wanted was to save Mama. I got so much more than that. I got you. I got Mickey. I got a future I never dreamed possible. They sat together as the sun set completely and stars began to appear. Mickey's laughter carried across the garden. Patricia was singing to him. It was perfect. A perfect moment in a perfect life. You know what the best part is? Tanya said. What? We get to do this forever. We get to build this life together. We get to raise our son. We get to grow old together. We get forever. Forever, Gabriel agreed. And it still won't be long enough. They kissed as the first stars appeared in the sky. Around them their family laughed and loved and lived. This was what mattered. Not money. Not status. Not any of the things Gabriel had once thought were important. Love. Family. Kindness. Hope. These were the things that mattered. These were the things that lasted. Gabriel had spent 20 years building a business empire. But in the end, the thing he was most proud of wasn't his company or his wealth. It was this. His family. His wife. His son. His life. He'd started with nothing and built everything. Then he'd lost himself in the process. But Tanya had found him again. She'd reminded him who he was. Who he wanted to be. And now, sitting in this garden with his family around him, Gabriel Morrison knew he was the richest man in the world. Not because of his bank account. Because of the love in his life. That was true wealth. That was true success. That was everything. The end. Tanya and Gabriel's story didn't end there, of course. They went on to have 2 more children. Patricia lived long enough to see all 3 grandchildren grow up. The cancer never came back. She was healthy and happy until she peacefully passed away at 82, surrounded by family. The Cancer Foundation continued to grow, helping thousands of families afford treatment. Gabriel eventually stepped back from Morrison Tech to focus on philanthropy. Tanya became CEO and ran the company with the same kindness and integrity she brought to everything. Mickey grew up knowing his father's story. Knowing that his parents had found each other through hardship. Knowing that second chances were real. Knowing that leading with love and kindness made all the difference. The Morrison family became known not for their wealth, but for their generosity. They gave away millions to charity. They helped countless people afford medical care, education, housing. Years later, when people asked Gabriel what his greatest accomplishment was, he never mentioned his company. He never talked about the money he'd made or the deals he'd closed. Instead, he'd smile and say, I learned to accept help when it was offered. I learned to give help when it was needed. And I learned that kindness and love always win in the end. And Tanya would add, we learned that the worst moments can become the best moments. That getting fired can lead to getting everything. That accepting help with gratitude opens doors you never knew existed. Their story became a reminder that life can change in an instant. That one act of kindness can ripple out and change everything. That hope and love always find a way. From a janitor eating a sandwich to a wife, mother, and CEO. From a cold millionaire to a loving husband and father. From a dying woman to a healthy grandmother. All because one man decided to listen. To see. To help. To love. All because one woman decided to accept that help with gratitude instead of pride. All because kindness won. Hope won. Love won. And that, in the end, is the only story that matters.